Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Patriots Unfiltered.
All right, welcome to day 3 of the Patriots Unfiltered Draft Extravaganza. We're going to be here from 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. It's Mike Dussault, Evan Lazar, Paul Perillo, myself, Matt in the booth. And let's get right to it. While we were away, the Patriots had 2 picks in the 4th round, the 3rd and the 10th. And Mike, you want to go over who they picked?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to let Evan do the guard. No, I want to start with Javon Baker because, I think it's a good pick. And, he was a big board guy, a mock draft guy for me. Definitely had some heat around him, coming in here. It felt like later in the draft he was kind of a riser. But another guy that, maybe isn't super explosive. He's got some drop issues, but started at Alabama, has a good pedigree, tough with the ball in his hands. He's just another guy, and it feels, similar to me like Polk yesterday, where they're football players. These are, guys who know how to play the position, and I'm excited. I'm excited about these 2 picks, and I know that, some people will point out qualifiers on both of them, but for me, I think these are 2 really good wide receiver picks.
Yep.
Evan? Yeah, and Evan, tell us about the guard.
Yeah. I can tell you about the guard a little bit. I saw him down at the Senior Bowl, Laden Robinson. Wide body, powerful interior offensive lineman, moves the line of scrimmage pretty well. I am a little bit surprised, obviously a little bit surprised that they took a guard, but that's besides the point. I am a little bit surprised that he's not a zone blocking guard.
Right.
This is not an athletic, reach block, lateral moving interior lineman. This is more in the Mafi on Wenu mold. I don't think he's quite as big as those 2 guys are, but somebody that is definitely more of known for his power and play strength and that sort of thing than he is for being a super athlete. But with Javon Baker, to me that's probably the best pick of the draft outside of Drake May. To get Javon Baker here in the 4th round is a really, really good savvy pick, and it shows me that there's a plan of how to use Drake May's skill set to the best of his abilities, and B, it also shows me that those guys are watching some film, because you don't draft a receiver that can play like Baker from UCF that transferred from Alabama and had all kind of a journey here without being on it, without knowing what you're looking at when it comes to this position. And I think those 2 guys together, Polk and Baker, what I would call them is ball winners. Yeah. They're both guys that can win in traffic, that can win contested catches, and have really good catch radiuses. And if you have a quarterback that's not pinpoint, it's really quarterback friendly to pair him with 2 guys that have really good hands and really good ability to go outside their frame and catch the football. So one kind of inside outside guy in Polk, one true X boundary receiver in Baker. They fit together nicely. You see a lot of what they're going for here. I'm not trying to tell you that it's Randy Moss and Wes Welker just yet, but these 2 guys are complementary pieces to one another and complementary to Drake May as well.
Can I just say one more thing too? Like, this was something that was bugging me last night, where I was thinking about my reaction to Polk, and I don't know if I kind of gave justice to how much I kind of liked him, but I just don't want to put qualifiers on these guys. Like, I just feel like every time we talk about them, you feel the necessity to say, well, he ran a 4.5. It's not a 4. You point out kind of all the flaws, and it's like, I just am getting so upset with, like, people in my mentions who can't be happy right now. Like, if you can't be happy right now when you get some new pieces, like, and you're instantly just, and there are so many idiots in my mentions calling Drake May Mac Jones, or they're calling Jalen Polk is the next N'Keal Harry. And it's like, buy a clue, people. Like, these are nothing like those players. You're just angry to be angry. And, like, right now, just take a little bit of time to say, you know what, these are young kids living their dream right now, and yeah, maybe they're not perfect, but I'm not going to point out the qualifiers anymore. I'm excited for both these receivers. They talked about weaponizing the offense, and I think that's what they're doing, and I like both these guys.
There's probably like 5 or 6 blue chippers in this draft. So everybody after that is,
Right.
you know.
Well, and Fred, you just never know. And how many of these people are like, well, the only people that end up being stars are the people that have a 4.3, they're the 6'2", they're the perfect size, they have, they can get off the line, they could, like, nobody's perfect. There's so many superstars in this league that were coming out that were, well, he only runs a 4.5. They have those qualifiers. And I don't really want to hear all about that today. I think those are both players that should have been on their radar. They were on their radar. They selected them. So if you're a Patriots fan right now, I think that you should finally be excited. And I have heard some of those people who have said, look, I was looking off the ledge the last couple of months, and now I feel like there's something there. And, I mean, if you can't look at Drake May, these two receivers, I feel bad for you because this is the time where, I don't know, maybe they don't work out and reality smacks us in the face when we get to training camp. But for right now, I'm really excited about these guys.
Love it. Yeah.
I'm really excited about that rant.
I couldn't agree more, though. I tried after they took Polk because I think people hear contested catch and jump balls, and
Right.
I don't
Qualify
think he's
it.
a jump ball receiver. I don't think that's the right way to phrase it with Jalen Polk at all. I think he's an in-traffic receiver because he works the middle of the field all the time. So he's always got bodies around him and people around him, and as talented as Penix is, Penix is a really similar quarterback to Drake May, where when you actually go and break down actual ball placement on throws, those throws can sometimes be a little behind, a little high, a little off target, a little. And Polk is one of those guys that just snatches everything.
Just like laying out like vertical, and that was. I think when they made the pick last night, you get so concerned with, like, I got to write a thing real quick. I got to run over there. Yeah, it's a good pick. I like it. But, and then I got home last night, and I went back and I started looking at the stuff, like I said, when I first looked at him, and I'm like, I really like this kid. Like, I just think he's a football player. He's tough. He finishes runs. There's a good video of Steve Smith breaking him down. If Steve Smith likes a receiver, there's a good chance he's got some good traits.
2011 Super Bowl against the Giants, he makes that catch that Welker didn't.
Not if Brady throws it.
Honestly, Fred, I mean, some of those catches, Jalen Polk, I mean, I like he's exciting like that. I mean,
there's
some juice out there. Like, there's going to be some like whoa moments. I think.
I mean, I really like Baker too. There's a lot of things I actually like about Baker's profile, even more so than Polk, to be honest with you. But I think everything Mike said, I would echo in that you needed to find some wide receivers, and they didn't have the luxury. We got an Ask PFW in the mailbag today saying, I can't believe they let everybody go by again without taking wide receivers. And I'm like, they had to take a quarterback at 3. Okay? Now, I understand you could have taken Marvin Harrison at 3, or you could have taken Malik Neighbors at 3. Fine. Now you have that stud, number 1, no questions asked. Even Mike can identify he's a 1, right? But you don't have a quarterback. So what's the difference? And then you're going to be bitching about they let 6 quarterbacks get taken in the first round, and they let the parade go by and they didn't take one. So, like, that's why I would echo Mike's point. Like, if you can't be at least hopeful, you don't want to be happy, don't be happy. Just be miserable. But if you can't be hopeful today as a Patriots fan and say they got a new coaching staff in regime in place, they have a new quarterback that they introduced yesterday, they have a couple of new wide receivers that they've taken that, we'll see if you can't at least have hope.
Yeah.
Then maybe you should try to figure out another thing to do.
If you can't have hope, you don't want to have hope.
That's my point.
You're actively
right. And that's
resisting.
And I'm not trying to tell you that they just drafted 2 All-Pros and it's going to be Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt
like
everyone
the
greatest
should know
show
that,
on turf.
right?
But they drafted 2 guys that have good skill sets, and they have a new quarterback. If they can't play, they're going to have to do it again. Like, we all get it. There's no guarantees in the draft. We understand. There's a lot of, Elliott Wolf keeps saying we want to be a draft and developing team, right? Draft and development. Well, they're drafting guys. Now they have to develop them. Yep. That's how you get to be a draft and development team, is you have to do both. And I think that's really where they've fallen off over the last, decade or so.
1,000%.
I think they've drafted some decent players, and they haven't really been able to develop them as much as you might want.
Yeah, I would just say another point too. I think Caden Wallace. There's some questions last night about. I know he said he could play left tackle, and Olu Fashanu was there, and Laden Robinson. I'm not gonna lie, like guard, I was what but I think when you look at the entirety of Chukwuekorafo, Robinson, Wallace, the guys last year, they're really throwing it all at the wall. And I feel the same way about the wide receiver position, that competition is going to be intense. And, I don't know what Vidarian Lowe or why they traded for Tyrone Wheatley, but they're guys that are going to be out there competing, and we'll see how it all comes together. They're going to try to build that protection to get it in place and to get it right before it's time to put Drake May in there.
Yeah, and, listen, since the end of the season, we've been saying they need this, they need that. Well, they're getting this and that.
It's all offense so far.
And the other thing is it tells you, it confirms what we thought. This wide receiver room isn't that great, and so they just picked up 2 wide receivers. We thought this offensive line isn't that great, and we knew they needed tackle, but they just picked up a guard too.
Yeah,
and that should again, the old saying, don't look at what they say, look at what they do. Maybe they're not as enamored with all these guards that they have.
If you're one of these guys that has been kind of a disappointment draft pick or free agent, and I'll say Cole Strange, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, probably
Right.
the big 3. Like, all those guys are kind of on notice right now. I mean, it's every
Tayshaun
one of them
Boutte,
is going to
all
have to
those
come
guys.
win.
Yeah.
But those guys. Thornton is 2nd-round pick. Cole Strange 1st-round pick. Juju was kind of the crown jewel of last offseason.
Absolutely. Mike.
So all those guys that were really big pieces. It's like, what's their mindset like right now? What's Juju Smith-Schuster thinking right now? Is he ready to, man, I'm going to have to bust my ass and get out here and take my game to another level? I don't know if Juju's got that gear still in him, but, look,
but
everybody's going to have to compete.
Now going forward, the Patriots don't have a 5th-round pick. So, the 6th and 7th round guys, I'm sure it's just, who's on our board.
Yeah, there'll be some
Yeah,
depth
I
figure
don't
out.
think the position means as much as how they had these guys valued once we get, into the 6th round. But I think these players that they picked rounds 1 through 4, I think are positions, that they felt they needed to upgrade.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And let's face it, if Drake May is who we all think he might be, then none of the other picks in the draft really matter.
Right.
Right? If Drake May
If he hits, it doesn't matter.
if he's a franchise quarterback and he's as good as I think he could be, then whether we took Jalen Polk over Lad McConkey 3 years from now, I don't think any of us are really going to be losing sleep over it.
Right.
And I think that's ultimately what it's all coming down to, is that Drake May was not a coin flip decision. That was a no-brainer, easy, this is what we're doing. Some of the 2nd round and 3rd round guys, I would say, were coin flip decisions. The Chargers took Lad McConkey, the Patriots took Jalen Polk. Those 2 guys' careers are going to be compared for the rest of the time. If Lad McConkey goes on to be Cooper Kupp and Jalen Polk goes on to be nothing, then this regime's going to have to face the music on that. That's where the draft gets interesting.
And that's what I like about the draft, because you do have those comps. I mean, we go back, 2 years, and it's Tyquan Thornton, and then it's George Pickens, Sky Moore, Alec Pierce. And I would say all 3 of those guys, even though I would say
Doesn't take much, Paul. Doesn't take much.
But they've dwarfed what they've gotten out of Tyquan Thornton, even though Sky Moore, I think, has been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
You're going to have the same kind of stuff. Adonai Mitchell is the guy that I would watch. And we talked about it ad nauseum last night about the red flags. And I'm going to trust that the red flags are the reason why everybody didn't take him until he went to, in the 50s, I think, to the Colts. So if it turns out to be it's strictly a situation with his medical issues and he's having a hard time, that's going to get fixed. The NFL will fix that. If he wants to be fit, if he wants to figure out how to be the best he can be, then that's going to get fixed at the NFL level. That's something that's worth a second guess.
Yeah,
because he definitely had more talent than the guys that were taken before him.
Yeah, and I would also say with Caden Wallace, the consensus boards before the draft would tell you that he was a reach. But I would also mention that 13 offensive tackles went before the Patriots pick at 68. So at some point, if they were going to address offensive tackle with a premium pick, they had to pick somebody because there was nobody left by the time he got to midway through the 3rd round. So that was the guy they ended up picking. Are we going to second guess that too, maybe a little bit? If he ends up being a guard or he ends up not really making it in the league, then yeah, absolutely. But I've heard that a lot, and I understand it was a reach based off of the consensus of the media. Now, does that matter that a bunch of media people had him as the 180th player in the draft and the Patriots took him at 68? I guess we'll find out.
I mean, wouldn't you say too, Evan, that media evaluating these prospects, offensive line, probably the hardest, like compared at least to wide receiver? It's a lot harder for someone who isn't a trained NFL scout, in some capacity, to identify what a great tackle looks like and what feet look like that could play the left side too. Like those, like it's easy for amateur scout. No disrespect to us that do it but aren't officially trained. Like it's easy to look at a wide receiver and be like, this guy can run.
Right.
He's got great catches. Like that's easy. But to watch a guard or a tackle,
I
it's
think,
a lot harder.
Well, I don't know if it's harder. I mean, I think they look at.
I know this guy.
I think they look at guards and they say, does he have the size? Does he have the technique? If he can do that, then we can coach him.
Yeah. Well, the teams do. But I just like, where do these consensuses come from? And I mean, and I totally agree with Evan. Like, it's just hard. We'll see how they work out. You've got a lot of guys. I mean, I still think there's a chance Michael Onwenu ends up back inside. Like, I know they said he's the right tackle right now, but I just think he's at his best. So, Paul, who is this guy?
Hey, Matt Morrell, are you watching in there? Is he in there? Oh, all right. I think that's the "What's Up, Brother" guy on TikTok. If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not on TikTok like you, Paul.
So
yeah, well, I as you know, I do not even. Well, now it's illegal. I don't.
Oh, right.
I don't even have the app. But my kids are always doing. What's up, brother? Check Tuesday. Check Tuesday.
Oh, so
they're
getting
the guy. Yeah, I think that's the guy. I'm not positive.
Well, you got kids that are doing this.
I'll have to check on that one.
The one guy that
that's the guy.
The one guy that I really trust in the draft community from the media side of things with offensive linemen is Lance Zierlein because his dad coached offensive linemen in the NFL. And he had a 4th-round grade on Caden Wallace. And said that, his projection with his grade is that he will eventually be an average starter in the NFL.
See, I'm okay in
3rd round. That's where you're.
This is going to sound like the most sunshine.com comment of all time. I'm okay with a reach in the offensive line, like in the middle, like Cole Strange, 4 rounds, 5 rounds with a 1st-round pick. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
But if you want to tell me he was a 4th-round pick or a 5th-round pick and you took him in the 3rd round, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm a little less okay with a lot of the stuff about Polk that he could have been, 50, 70 picks later. But I'm fine because I look at it, and again, this is a sunshine.com take, I admit it. But I'm looking at it as you have needs that you wanted to fill. I thought Chris Gasper made a good point this morning as I was driving in. He talked about Drake May is kind of like that swing for the fences kind of pick. I mean, everybody knows all the ways that he can be a home run, right? Well, this guy, Polk, is a little bit safer. Like, if he really hits, he's probably not going to be a home run, but he's going to hit a lot of doubles.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a really good player for you. And there's probably a better chance that maybe he is a singles hitter than he's a bust. And, to kind of couple, a big swing for the big talent quarterback with a steady, reliable, physical, as you guys have described, good football player.
Yeah.
I think Baker can be really good. I think Baker has really good skill.
Yeah.
I think Polk is really just solid.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that Gasper said that kind of worried me, I don't know if you guys feel like this, he thought Jaden McMillan was better, and maybe Polk's production got bumped up because of all the time that McMillan missed.
So McMillan's faster. I don't know if that necessarily his hands are not as good, but McMillan ran like a 4.47 and plays faster on tape. He's more explosive on film. But I had all these guys, Ladd McConkey, Roman Wilson, Polk, McMillan, even Ricky Pearsall, who went at the end of the 1st round. I had them all graded in the same tier. Now, if I was running the Patriots board and they told me you had to pick a receiver at 37, would I have picked Jalen Polk? Probably not. But that was their guy. Their guy was Polk. My guy probably would have been somebody different, but they went with their guy. And I can't say that it was we were worlds apart in terms of how we saw the player. Like, it was I saw him as a day 2 guy that was right in that tier with those other guys that were starting to fly off the board at that point, and they took their swing on their guy. And I can respect that.
I just think the thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of how I felt about it.
I just think.
Maybe you had a better player, but I
would have taken Troy Franklin probably, which would have been way too soon. apparently.
Yeah,
according to the
I'm a
rest of
little
the league.
disappointed that we didn't get my guy only because I kind of liked him. But Baker and Franco, and those are the two guys that I started hearing about late that they had in for the 30 visits, and I'm glad they got one of those guys.
Yeah, I would say just, when I went back last night, looking a little bit at Polk, I mean, it's an apt comparison. I mean, Doug Kyde, who went to Washington, he watches Washington, kind of had some similar tweets that I did. I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, he plays similar to Odunze. Like, Odunze is just like if someone pumped up Jalen Polk for like another couple inches and another like 20 pounds, which is just like, Odunze is like a freak. But a lot of the catches that you see Polk make, it's not, it exists in a bubble. It's not because, you know what I mean? He's going up, getting crazy catches, and he's holding on to the ground. He's popping right back up. He's one of those guys, the whole vibe I get from him is just this guy loves the game. You look at like his history. I mean, I know the comp to Jacoby Meyers, who was a quarterback. This kid got offered by Illinois after he made the team in East Texas, which is, we all know what the football is like there. Got offered by Illinois after his freshman year. He's a star in 7-on-7. So everything that we talk about, the evolution of the league and how there's just an explosion of wide receivers, like this kid has been on the forefront of all of that. So it's, as much as people say Jacoby Meyers, I just don't love the comp because I feel like this kid is a pure receiver and he plays the game like a receiver and he runs hard. He finishes plays. So I'm willing to, I said earlier, I'm willing to die on the Jalen Polk hill now after last. I'm like, I came in too milquetoast on him. I got to be honest. It's just, and I don't know what I'm watching. I've been doing this for a while though.
I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to defend you. I don't think you were milquetoast on. I thought both of you guys were very high on Polk last night.
Yeah.
And
I hope it came across.
I think you're reiterating a lot of the same things.
I think the big thing for a lot of Patriots fans, and myself included, in my gut when they made the pick was like number 2 receiver, right? And that's for a team that's been searching for the white whale for 5-6 years now of that stud number 1 receiver, whether it's inside, outside, tight end, whatever, it doesn't make a difference, right? Just that number 1 playmaker, that coverage dictating player. I don't necessarily think Jalen Polk is that. I think Jalen Polk is the possession receiver that's going to move the chains, that's going to make the tough catches, it's going to be the gritty guy in the middle of the field, and is going to be a high-volume guy, but not necessarily in that tier of Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, those types of guys. But as it kind of soaked in a little bit, I was like, well, did I really expect them to get that guy at 37?
Right.
That's
right. I had 3 of those guys in this draft.
Right. And maybe Brian Thomas Jr., who went 20 picks before Jalen Polk did. So did I really think that was going to happen in this draft, that they were going to be able to address quarterback and wide receiver, and me come away from that saying they have Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase?
If they pull off some trade for either Samuel or, Ayuk, now, let's go. Let's go.
Well, I would say, in my opinion, I think that the trade that's passed. I don't think that they're going to.
Yeah, I'm a little less in on that now.
Well, yeah, they don't have the assets. They'd have to go into next year.
Yeah.
The other thing with Jacoby Meyers, I don't hate the comp because the one thing that I always thought that was really weird about all their misses at receiver were that they had guys like Jacoby Meyers who were UDFAs or late round picks that were the ones that actually work out, like Pop Douglas, right, too. And yet in the early rounds, when they draft receivers, they draft totally different guys from the ones that work here. They draft Tyquan Thornton or they draft N'Keal Harry. And you're like, but the shifty, smart, savvy, hands-catching receiver, Jacoby Meyers, is the one that works. So why are you drafting the 4-2 guy that can only run in a straight line? To me, Jalen Polk is like if Jacoby Meyers had a second-round profile in the draft. If you had like a souped-up Jacoby Meyers. I felt the same way about Jalen McMillan, both Washington guys. So even though he's a better prospect and a better player than Jacoby was coming out, if he's in a little bit better version of Jacoby Meyers, then that's a really good pick.
Yep.
Webradio@patriots.com is the email address, 855-PATS-500. Ford in Savannah, Georgia writes in, thanks for the amazing coverage and entertainment. While I like Polk at wide receiver, I also got a sinking feeling when we passed on a number 1 wide receiver in Fred's guy, Ladd McConkey. I'm a lifelong Patriots fan who has lived in Savannah for the past 16 years. I'll admit Brock Bowers opened things up for Ladd, and also admit to not watching every single Washington game like I have every Georgia game. But Ladd is an inside-outside receiver with all the traits who seem always magically open, Puka Nacua style. My theory on the trade down is it was a scouting blind spot to try and make impressive 4th-round picks while undervaluing picks closer to the top. Please tell me I'm wrong, and I'm just suffering from former wide receiver PTSD picks in the Patriots draft.
Yeah, I mean, I had, like I said earlier, I had Laden McConkey and Jalen Polk in the same tier. So I don't view Laden McConkey as a number one receiver. I think Laden McConkey
wasn't a number one receiver in college.
Is a high-end number two receiver as a ceiling, in the same way that Jalen Polk has a ceiling as a high-end number two receiver. They're very different players. Laden McConkey was the bursty, explosive technician. Jalen Polk is the tough, gritty, hands catcher, runs over the middle, does all the dirty things. That's a stylistic preference. If you wanted the guy that created a lot of separation at the top of the route, then you're into Laden McConkey. The Patriots were into a guy that has a little bit more play strength, a little bit more grit to him and toughness.
Yeah, and then going back to last night, we were kind of talking about the contested catch guys, and you're like, this is what I prefer. This is just stylistically, I'd rather than like a 6'4" guy who's just going to go down the field. Like, I want guys with the ball in their hands that finish plays that are tough, that can make the tough catches in the big spots.
And I would probably split it in the middle. And I understand exactly what you're talking about, Mike. And to go back to what Evan was talking about a little while ago, there's a reason. There's a lot of those guys with that profile that have worked for New England, and you're like, well, why don't they just take more? Because you don't need to take those guys early in the draft, because you can get them, when you get them. Now, what gets lost sometimes in New England is it worked with Welker, who they acquired. It worked when they drafted Julian Edelman in the 7th round. They made the transition. And it worked, I would say, largely with Jacoby Meyers as an undrafted guy. There's a dozen I could rattle off for you that didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
But that's where you get those guys, because you don't have to draft them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to draft them with high picks. But if you want, as Evan used perfectly as an example, if you want a guy who does everything, like Jamar Chase, you got to pay for that.
Right.
You got to draft him high.
Yep.
And, so I understand Mike's point. I don't want I don't want Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Devontae Parker
Right.
is a guy who this full disclosure, I absolutely loved Devontae Parker coming out of Louisville. I think he went with the 14th pick.
He was a more explosive
to
player
Miami.
when he came
I
out.
loved him. I wanted him so bad. I was pissed when Miami got him. I thought he was pretty good for Miami. And then he just was always hurt. And I was like, this guy's no good. I don't want a 6'4" guy who can't separate and only wins jump balls and only makes contested catches. He makes plenty of plays, and every once in a while he has great games. He had a great game against the Patriots to knock him out of the bye week, back in 2019.
I remember that one.
But he's not consistent enough
Yeah.
to be a 14th overall pick of the draft.
Yeah. The other thing I just real quick, Fred, just that I like about these two receivers is that they're both 6'1" and change, 210. I mean, they're athletic.
They're not that slight.
They got good size.
Yeah.
They're not big guys, but they
Yeah.
got good thickness, good size. I like the dimensions of both of them.
Juan in Mexico says, with the wide receiver picks and with Pop and Bourne, are they trying to be similar to the Packers' philosophy with a bunch of good wide receivers without a true number one?
I don't think that's
a philosophy.
I don't think that's
so.
the actual goal. I just think that's the way the board fell for them after taking the quarterback.
I mean, they tried to get Calvin Ridley, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that Polk, Baker, I think those guys are very, very Green Bay-y, just in terms of their skill sets and their profiles and things like that.
There's a guy that I was thinking of last night, and I think I saw Greg Bedard tweet about it. Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Is there any? Do you have any Jordy Nelson? Because I don't really look at Polk as Jordy Nelson like. I saw Greg write that last night, and I've always thought of Jordy Nelson as kind of explosive on the outside.
Yeah. No,
kind of like close
not
to Christian
necessarily.
Watson, who you talked about. Not that kind of speed, but
Yeah,
more in that
I
kind of
like the
mode.
comps that I've heard. Tyler Boyd, better Jacoby Myers. If you want to go ceiling, Keenan Allen, right?
I liked
that
the
kind
Tyler
of,
Boyd last night that Phil Perry had, and that was from a league executive that he supposedly got that from.
Yeah.
I liked that because Tyler Boyd's another guy I had a crush on coming out of Pitt. I thought he was a perfect Belichick kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why I was a little bit frustrated last night is that I said this before. Comparison is the thief of joy. The second these guys are drafted, you got to put them in a pre-existing box. You got to put an XYZ 1, 2, 3 on them.
Yep.
And then you just instantly put them into a box, and it's like I just watch them. I don't have to put them into a box. I like the way that this kid plays
you know
football.
what's funny
I'm
about
excited
that,
to
Mike?
have him.
I understand. Like I love the comps, and I understand why they do them. It makes it easy. For,
right.
Like this is what you understand what I'm saying. You know
Yeah.
what that, Tyler Boyd, kind of that. So now everybody says, "Oh, I know Tyler Boyd." The problem with it is, you might think Tyler Boyd's really good. Someone else might think, "Oh, Tyler Boyd, that's it." Like,
Right.
That's the problem.
And that's the ceiling right there
You know?
of what he's going to
like,
be.
I think
and
Tyler Boyd's had a really good NFL career. I look at that as a real compliment. You know, and then someone says high end, like Evan just did, Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen. Now, I know someone that we work with who rarely wears socks who thinks Keenan Allen sucks.
It's a bad take.
He thinks he stinks. So, like, it's all in the beholder.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, the comps, I get why they do them, but sometimes they don't do what you want them to do.
Yeah, I just think in terms of where he wins on the field, the routes that he runs, and I know you get this, I'm just explaining it, you know. I think those are the types of guys that he's not going to run by people at 4.52. He's just not going to be a burner that's going to run by people. But I think the thing that I keep coming back to with both these guys is that they drafted a quarterback who is not Tom Brady and Drew Brees with accuracy. Like, this is not a guy that's going to fit it through a keyhole. He's going to throw it generally in the right area of where the ball is supposed to go. And Polk and Baker both have size, they both have length, and they both have hands that they can go ahead and if Drake May's a little bit off, if the throw's a little bit low, then these guys are going to go and get the ball.
And you need that body control, too.
Yeah.
Now, if Polk doesn't work, is there any, like, Aaron Dobson kind of vibe?
With Polk,
I don't
I
see
really
that.
saw Aaron Dobson to me in this draft was Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman had that one catch against who was it? I think it was Miami, but I'm blanking. Where he has one catch where he goes above his head like this one-handed catch and pulls it down, and his teammates have like their hands on their heads like holy crap. And that Aaron Dobson catch reminds me that
I didn't think Aaron Dobson was that big though. I think he was more like this size.
Dobson seems stiff to me. I don't know. I just don't see that with Polk. They seem like different players. Just the way they play the game. I don't know.
That's why I said if he doesn't work.
Well, if he doesn't work, I don't really see him being stiff. And, you know, I think if he doesn't work,
Can't separate.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I think
probably
if
it. But
if he doesn't work, the comp that I would use if he doesn't work is Juju Smith-Schuster last year.
Now.
there you go.
Right.
I would see that more than Dobson.
That's
Okay.
okay. He can't run away from anybody.
That makes
He's
me
got
feel-
no juice.
Makes me feel
But,
better.
you know, Belichick, you know, if a quarterback, they have to be able to get open and catch the ball. You know, guys that don't work generally, it's one of those two things. They can't get open, and when they get open, they're dropping the ball.
Yeah,
so,
whether they physically can't get open, mentally can't understand how to get open.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is one of the things with Polk that mentally it seems like he understands, you know, how it kind of all works. But like I said, I think both these guys are just, you know, they're football players. They're going to be fun to watch, and I think that's the biggest thing for me is you know, just after 3 days you finally got something to be interested in about the Patriots offense when we get out, you know, to OTAs in a couple weeks. I mean, that
we'll
rookie
see.
mini camp.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, that's the most fun thing to watch when we go out, to see a new young quarterback and two young receivers out there during OTAs. I'm excited.
Joe writes in, some talk about comparing Polk to Puka. Parker and now Paul is saying he heard Jordy Nelson. What about Bobby Trees?
I don't know who that is.
Robert Woods.
Oh, okay. I was like, Paul, dude, tell me who that is.
Bobby
Like
Trees is
from the
Robert Woods.
1970s.
Oh, you didn't scout Bobby Trees, Evan?
I
when
thought
he
it was
came
like
out?
I thought it was somebody from like the 1980s. I'm not gonna lie. I guess I could see that a little bit. I don't necessarily see the Puka Nakua comparisons because Puka's so fast with the ball in his hands.
Yeah,
I don't think
people
Polk's
were
gonna be that.
saying on Twitter last night that no one thought that Puka Nakua was a number one type receiver.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. But,
Even though he's not the number one receiver for the Rams either. But that's
heck of a quote here from Javon Baker. Come to the home stadium and bring your popcorn. That's all I can tell you. Bring your popcorn. I make people in wheelchairs stand up.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to walk that one back.
not gonna lie.
When did did he say that just now?
I'm a little less high on him than I was about 30 seconds ago.
The wheelchair thing is tough. I don't love that.
No, I know what Evan's talking about. The wide receiver with swagger is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
As long as he can play.
Got some swagger. You got swagger like us.
Whoop. Deuce.
You got the swagger.
Getting ready to work blue.
You got the swagger.
I like Deuce's energy today.
I love Deuce's energy, especially because I have none.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's picking us all up right now.
I'm not sure
It
where
is.
it's
He
coming
brought
from.
me right into the show. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I mean, you know, I think I got to credit Twitter because it's like you read these comments and you're like, Are people insane? Like,
No,
what are you even
no.
watching? Like, how could
Yeah.
you make that I get it. You're gonna hate everything they do, no matter what, and you're just an angry Patriots fan who like hate roots for the team now. But like, if you can't be happy, right? When are you gonna be happy? Like, once the games start, it's all reality, and then it's like, well, actually, Jalen Pope stinks. You know, like then you start to find out the truth. But at this point, we can live in fantasy land where everybody works out, and it's
that's
gonna be
my
awesome.
point. Hope.
Right.
Like, I'm not telling you, like, drop everything you got, man, and make. Let's start making plans for the playoff. Like, I'm just telling you, you should have some hope. You drafted a quarterback, you drafted a couple of receivers, you have new guys in place. Why don't you hope it's going to change for the better?
Yeah.
You know, and then if it doesn't, okay, you get disappointed. I'm like, you can't just like, well, I don't want to get my hopes up because then they're just going to stink, and I'm not. Then that way, like, you're going to be disappointed either way.
Yeah.
So the comp that I had used, and I just wanted to double check with what I had written for Baker is Romeo Doubs in Green Bay, and that 2022 Packer draft, they drafted Christian Watson in the second round, and then they drafted Romeo Doubs in the fourth round. And then all of a sudden now Jordan Love's got weapons. You know, he's got receivers around him.
Yeah.
You have to think that was kind of the model for this draft with Elliott Wolf.
No, there's no doubt.
Is that second and
Right.
fourth round receivers, take two of these guys, one inside, one outside, just like we kind of did in Green Bay, or they did in Green
And they
Bay.
kind of
but-
did it the
Right.
opposite. They went with the guy, the outside guy in 2 and the
Yep.
more versatile
But
guy in 4.
Right.
And then the
Patriots
tight
did
ends
it
the
the
next
opposite.
year.
Yeah.
The new thing with receivers in comparison, the spider chart. Have you seen
yeah.
that?
I'm not draftable.
Oh yeah.
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 So they have the spider
got-
chart.
who do you got?
And Darth Skeptical writes in.
I like that.
He
I like that name.
he says, "What's the difference between Polk and Baker that makes Baker a wide receiver 1 and Polk a wide receiver 2? They have both similar measurables, basically the same height, weight, and 40 time. I don't think either one's a wide receiver.
Did
1,
anybody
right?
say that Baker is the
No,
one?
I think this goes
Yeah.
back to what Deuce says, though. People associate X receiver
With one.
with one.
Right.
That
Because he's outside.
Right.
So, like, just out of curiosity,
Your wide receiver 1 is your best wide receiver.
now there
Unless it's your tight end.
there are X's. Well, like Kansas City's wide receiver 1 is Travis Kelce.
Well, that was when I continued our argument from last night in my head as I was trying to go to sleep. And
There's
I was
a
like,
lot of ones that
so
aren't
then,
X's.
and like when we were talking about 2010 with Moss, right? Like, so he falls off, to your point, and then kind of Gronk became the one, right?
Right.
I mean, that's,
Right.
how it evolved.
But there are a lot of ones right now that aren't necessarily, boundary receivers that are just on the outside of the. I mean, like Tyreek Hill is Miami's 1.
yeah.
He's not an X.
Well, and you'd think that, like, you'd like to be able to move that guy around. You don't want him just, going onto the outside, lining up on the line of scrimmage every single snap. You want to play with him and be able to, get him better matchups.
To me, a wide receiver 1 is you need a play. And who's your go-to guy
To
for
me,
your,
it's where does the coverage go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even I thought. I mean, look, we got to call it out. Like Bill Belichick's been awesome. Like with some of the analysis, the stories that have been popping up. I mean, I think it's my favorite Bill Belichick, other than when he's executing a great game plan. But Storytime Bill is wonderful. Told the whole story about Randy Moss. We've heard that before.
For the 17th time.
For the
yes.
17th time. But
I like
again,
Bill Belichick on the board.
that too. I
Doing
mean,
the-
anytime
the-
he's doing
the
real
film
football.
breakdown.
But he was talking about telling Moss, we're going to move you into the slot. And he's like, move me into the slot. But it's like those kind of things that, illustrate how you can move those guys around, even though Randy Moss is probably the purest of pure number 1 X receivers out there.
Let's see. Terrence writes in, look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th-round pick combine numbers. I guess he's not a high-end wide receiver,
Ooh,
and he
that's
just
a good
signed a top 5 contract.
Is that
maybe,
a comp? Yeah, that's a good
maybe the
There's
Lions.
another number 1 receiver who's not an X.
Yep.
Maybe the Lions shouldn't have picked him either. My fellow Patriots fans need to chill out and let's see how they develop. I see the vision. The development comes next. Believe in Wolf and Mayo.
I would not use Amon-Ra St. Brown as a comp for Polk. But
Polk.
No,
but-
Amon-Ra St. Brown is explosive.
No, but what I think with
But
these
in
people
terms
are
of the
saying it's
rating coming
right,
out.
it's the same thing with Puka Nacua. I don't think there's the same kind of player. I don't necessarily think the emailer, and I might be speaking for the emailer incorrectly, but I don't think he's necessarily comparing the skill set as much as mid-round picks that weren't necessarily thought of as being good enough.
Yeah.
That have certainly proven to be good enough.
Yeah,
I think that's what his point
I
is.
never understood why Amon-Ra St. Brown fell as
TJ
far as
Tampa.
he did. He had great college college tape.
That sounds
Tampa didn't take him.
Sounds like your kid going down to Florida for college.
I
and that's
didn't-
it. I'm TJ Tampa now, Dad.
Happy will though.
Just call me TJ Tampa.
I did not get it with. I didn't see it with TJ Tampa. I'm
Neither
not
did
gonna
Tampa.
lie.
They didn't take him.
I'm not gonna lie.
I was laughing a little while ago. A punter got taken. Now, if there was
really?
if there was a punter in college football that you would be interested in, who maybe probably got more work than any other punter in the history of punting,
Oh, jeez.
who would it be? What college? Iowa. They had about 3 first downs all
Really?
season in that rough, tough Big Ten. You know, like the Iowa punter is a guy that I'm interested in because I don't know. He probably punted 211 times last
I know.
year.
Well, but he's like a running back. He's got too many reps on his leg already,
That's
right?
true.
He's going to have a shortened
That's true.
punting
He's
career.
tired.
He's
His
punted
best,
too much.
His best days are behind him. Too many carries.
Sore leg. He's got a dead leg now. It's just he can't do
Yeah,
it.
it's he's an Aussie too. Torrey Taylor, 4th round pick. He went to the Bears.
We're just flying through him now, huh? This is the point in the draft where you kind of lose
Jared
track of-
Wiley.
Oh,
to
Jared
the,
Wiley.
Do the Chiefs take him?
Yep.
Chiefs are good at this.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are good at this.
The Chiefs and who is the? I mean, the Ravens are always good at this too.
They
the
are.
Eagles. It's annoying.
855 Pats 500. Let's go to the Ace Ticket Hotline. Chris is in California. What's up, Chris? Chris is gone. How about Christian in L.A.? What's up, Christian?
All right.
Hey, you guys. Happy Saturday to you.
Yeah.
Hey, so for me, the draft is going well. I wasn't so much a Drake May guy. Now I'm on board. I love Jalen Polk. Yes, I have the same Amara, St. Brown comparison. I love the tackles and the guards we have. They're big bodies. They can move a little bit. They'll give us at least a starting point for what we need. I like this guy Baker. He's got a little bit of that diva, that pop, that dog, as they say. I would not mind if for the last 2 picks, if we took a running back and then a cornerback. And then my question for you guys is this. If everyone hits the way we think, let's say 60% of their potential, how many wins do you think it gets us for this next year? And second question, if they do hit, does it accelerate Drake's starting position? Does that mean Drake should start this year if all the guys that we got to fill the holes sort of hit? Not completely, but just sort of.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
Well, if Drake only sort of hits, we're in trouble.
No, I would
No, not
I'd
Drake.
say I'd
Drake
say you're
is-
looking at 5 wins, but no, I don't think that these guys have anything to do with when you play Drake May. The
Right.
only one that should have anything to do with that is Drake May.
Yeah. But if Drake May only lives up to 60% of his potential, we're in trouble.
Well, I agree with
Yeah.
you. Like, I'm not taking them. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's what he said. If they all hit 60%,
Right.
that's not a good thing. But I
okay.
would say, like, if you have to evaluate Drake May on his own, and you have to decide when you think he's ready. Like, that has nothing to do with, oh my God, do you see how good Polk is doing and Baker? We got to get Drake May in there. If he's not ready, he's not ready.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we're going to have Matt Groh joining us in a little bit. So as soon as he's ready and behind the mic, we'll go to him. So we had Elliot Wolf on day 1. Yesterday we had Cam Williams. Today we're going to have Matt Groh. So good representation of the War Room.
Yeah.
So I assume we'll ask him about the last 2 picks that the Patriots had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good to ask him about these guys, and I think it's well, I'll save it for my question for him, but I just think you can see the plan. I mean, obviously they needed offense, and I am a little bit of a defense guy, so I'm a little bit sad right now. Maybe we could get, but I think that they've stocked up a number of positions that they need to improve. Probably the 2 most glaring or 3 most glaring positions. Drake May. We'll see what happens in terms of his development, but the other ones they're putting guys in there, and we'll see how the competition plays out. I'm sure that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah, what I like so much about it is that sometimes, there's something to be said for just stacking talent and not caring about positions. But I also think what they're doing is you can see where this guy's going to play and where that guy's going to play, and all these different pieces offensively where they're complementary skill sets to each other, let alone just the fact that they're positions of need.
That's going to be my question.
And it's kind of like building you can see where they're going in terms of building the offense. Whereas sometimes I feel like in recent years they make a pick and you're like, okay, but where is that guy going to get on the field? Like,
Right.
you know, and I'm not
Mapu,
trying to
yeah.
kill them for past drafts, but, you know, like Mapu or even Keon White. And you're like, okay, I can see what they see in the player, but Marty Mapu is kind of buried on the depth chart, isn't he,
Right.
behind 6 box safeties?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Why, I keep using the word hope. Why I'm so much happier about what's going on right now than I was at this time last year, not because of necessarily the players or how good they're going to end up being. I didn't know then. I don't know now, but you can see the idea of what they're doing. Last year, everybody thought the same thing people thought this year, except for the quarterback.
Yeah.
And they went corner, which was a need. And then defensive lineman, hybrid safety linebacker that still, I know I got yelled at by someone last year. I still don't understand what the idea was with Mapu. And so this year it's like, no, they need wide receivers. They got 2 of them. They need tackle. They got that, they drafted one.
Yeah.
The quarterback, like Evan said earlier, that was really, that was there. That's a no-brainer. But I understand what the thought process was.
Yeah, I love what I think Elliot said it to us on night 1 that days 2 and 3, that's really where the scouts go to work, right? Like the first day, taking the Drake May, not to take anything away from anybody in the war room, but Paul could have taken Drake May with the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
I did?
He would have.
Could
I would have by the way, I
but
would have
this-
taken Drake May at 2 as well.
Yeah, like at this point of the draft is where, like I said earlier, there's some options and they're all kind of clustered together, and you're going to pick one guy and the team next to you is going to pick the other, and you hope that your guy's the better guy in the long run. And those are where the really good evaluators separate themselves. And I think, in last year's draft with Mapu, my guess is that Bill Belichick wasn't going to pay Kyle Duggar.
So, yeah.
And so that
But-
was the next Kyle Duggar.
But I don't
when
think that there was any – I don't think there were any indications that they could allow Kyle Duggar to leave based on anything Mapu had done, is my
Right.
only point.
Fair enough.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
But if Bill was still here, do you think Kyle Duggar
no,
has
I think
that
that's what
contract extension?
the thought
No.
process, I think,
Maybe
was
transition.
But
like.
that's a good point,
was
Paul,
like
though.
that.
If Mapu had lit it up,
Then maybe they would have let him go.
right?
Yeah.
That's probably good business.
So,
Business.
Deuce, you're Detroit Lions.
Who am I?
I know how you get all hot and bothered about what the Lions are doing.
Keep the pants on. over there,
Sione
dudes.
Vaki.
No!
He's a
The
good
Lions are good at this.
He's a good football player.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, he can play running back if you need
He can
him.
play running back. He can play special teams. He can
Physical.
play safety.
Yeah, he felt
Yeah.
like he was when you asked your little poll there about who's going to be a
I
Patriot.
don't know why my little poll always has to get involved in these conversations.
we love your little poll.
He's day 3 Cooper DeJean, who I know who Paul loves, by the way.
Versatile safeties. Can't get enough of them.
Dejan.
Gets him hot and bothered. Jaden Hicks is a good player too. The Chiefs again, man. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Sounds like Evan liked every player in this draft.
Jaden Hicks was
Just the ones the Chiefs and the
he dropped
Ravens
a little
had.
bit.
Did drop a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought he was the best safety in the draft, and I know I'm not alone. I think Dane Brugler had him as the best safety in the draft. Also,
Jaden Hicks was 39 in the Beast.
that's why I said the Chiefs are good at this. It's annoying.
That's a big drop.
Xavier Worthy, Jaden Hicks, Jared Wiley.
You think he had to walk around the block with a baseball bat
Yeah,
Damn.
today?
Brett
or
Veach.
yesterday?
I don't know.
You think Jaden Hicks had 6 other safeties taken so far, and he's got a list now?
He's got a
I'm
list.
sure. Well, he's
Check
a
it twice.
he wasn't a
it's a
great.
tough day.
He's a pure box safety. He's Kyle Duggar. He's a very similar player to Kyle Duggar. So not exactly. Oh, they got King. The Chiefs just
They got Kingsley too. You just
Grand
remembered
slam.
that, didn't you?
Grand
just
slam.
dawned on you again.
This is
They're good at this.
unbelievable.
Don't you remember when they took Kingsley last night, and I read the Mahomes tweet Veach.
Yeah, I mean, like you get
think
they
it's
the
right.
Bills gave
I mean, you
gave
gotta love that
Patrick
guy.
Mahomes Xavier Worthy, and I will never forgive them for that. Like, what are you doing? Unbelievable.
Let's get to some of the phone calls while we wait for Matt Groh to join us. John's in South Beach. What's up, John?
Howdy, everyone.
Hey.
Howdy.
So I was a little
Oh,
skeptical.
I'm going to put you on hold. Hold on, John. We got Matt Groh. Matt, can you hear us?
How you doing?
Hey, Matt. Thanks for taking the time. I know you guys are busy. I'm here with Mike Dussault, Evan Lazar, Paul Perillo, myself. Tell us a little about these two fellas that you took in the 4th round.
Laden Robinson out of Texas A&M. Really excited to add him. Add some the interior play in this league, when you can get a good player, there's a lot to be said for that, especially here in the fourth round. 3-year starter at A&M, Coach Adazio, a name that a lot of Boston people are probably familiar with. Coaching the O-line down there, so you're going to get with Coach Adazio, tough-minded, tough physical guys on the field. So able to speak to him and some other people down there at A&M, and really saying the praises of Laden, and then you put the film on and you can see the power that this young man has, and we're able to spend some time with him before pro day, and get him up here, and so there's a high comfort level with Laden and what he can bring to the table for us.
Yep.
Matt, just along those lines, along the offensive line, you took Wallace last night. I'm looking at my little unofficial depth chart. It looks like 8 tackles, a bunch of interior guys, including the 3 that you guys selected last year. It feels like the offensive line overall is going to be a spot that's kind of rife for some competition.
Yeah, that's what we want at all spots, is competition, and that's how you get better, is having guys compete against each other each day, and then be able to go out there and compete their best on Sundays. And there's not many worse feelings, than being tackle poor. So don't want to say we're tackle rich. These guys are going to have to go out there and prove themselves and develop. And really excited about what Coach Peters can do with a lot of these guys. But again, to be able to add a talented, experienced player. This guy started a ton of games in the Big Ten. Know what we're getting from Coach Franklin. At Penn State and all those games in the Big Ten, you're getting as well prepared of a player at that position as you can hope to get.
You picked up Javon Baker. You had Polk already selected. How do these two receivers complement each other?
Yeah, so Javon's played a little bit of X, played a little bit of slot. This is a kid who went to Alabama. So they've got a pretty good knack of finding wide receivers out of high school. They don't just offer anybody to come play that position there. Obviously, Coach Saban and his staff and everything that they've done, they know what they're looking for. So didn't work out for Javon at Alabama. Hasn't worked out for a few guys at Alabama. You can come up with some pretty good names of players who started there and go on. I won't list the names off. You know who they are. So Javon, and then remember being down there, his first game at UCF a couple years ago, saying, "Whoa, who's this guy?" So you could see the talent right away, and to get him with Jalen, with JP, and start working here with Drake to try and build chemistry. It doesn't just happen overnight, and now you've got a couple guys who can grow with Drake. You're not talking about a free agent, those deals aren't always 4 years. Now we got guys who can grow for 4 years.
Yep.
And that's really nice to be able to establish that kind of relationship.
Yep.
Matt, with Jalen and Javon, the other thing that we've been talking about a lot is how tough they are on contested catches, and winning those passes outside their catch radiuses are pretty large as well. How important was that for you guys to have two guys that can go out there and be really good hands catchers for Drake?
Absolutely, the contested catch. That's what this league is. If you can't make some of those, then it's going to be tough, and you want guys who can be open even when they're covered, and to have guys like JP and Javon to be able to go up and snatch the ball out of the air. That's an important trait to have.
I know you have to get back to work, but quickly, any curveballs that you've seen, throughout the draft, things that you didn't expect to happen that kind of, said, wow, that was not on our radar?
Yeah, I'll leave those comments for inside the draft room. The eyebrows that go up inside the draft room. I'll leave those in there.
So
it's a good question. It's a good question, but
do you feel bored today, Matt?
Not going to get myself in trouble on that. Commenting on somebody else's draft.
Do you feel bored today, Matt? You had 9 picks last year on day 3. Are you a little bit more relaxed than with a few less picks?
Well, you start off with a bang here. We're at 103. Kind of had an idea as to how that was going to fall, but it comes quick at you, and then with the accelerated clock at 5 minutes, it's moving. Right now you wish it was moving a little bit faster, but there's always deals that we're fielding and we're reaching out on. So rarely are we just sitting there twiddling our thumbs saying, okay, we got 45 more picks, which is about probably where we are right now until we pick. So who knows, by the time I get back in there, we might be on the clock.
Okay, so Matt Groh just packaging those 2 6th-round picks. We're going to get into the 5th round. So don't go anywhere, everybody. We're going to be on the clock momentarily.
All right. Well,
I like it.
Well, Matt, we'll let you get back in there. But thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the coverage,
Thanks,
guys.
Matt.
All right, Matt Groh coming to us from the War Room with some analysis on the 4th-round picks.
Yeah, and the 5th round is underway, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Appreciate the coverage. That was, that's what we do. We cover the team. So thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your appreciation.
Yeah, I was Laden Robinson was a Senior Bowl guy, and so I was down there, and Macro was leading the Patriots contingent down there because Elliott was up here with Gerard filling out the coaching staff at that time. So it was Macro, it was Cam Williams, who we talked to yesterday, and those guys that were really running the show in Mobile. So obviously they must have come back from Mobile and said, hey, this guard from A&M is pretty good, and here we are.
All right, we'll go back to John in South Beach. Thanks for holding on, John.
Johnny South Beach.
Everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
What's up?
Howdy. Okay, this is not what I was going to call about, but is there like this weird phenomenon of Bill guys who kind of their voices sound like Bill over time?
I think so. Yeah.
That's good.
I think
Steve.
Yeah.
Steve Belichick.
Yeah.
Nick, I thought, sounded a lot like Bill. Nick Casario.
But so does Matt a
Matt,
little bit. Yeah.
It's like Mid-Atlantic.
So I was a little disappointed / skeptical of how the offseason has gone thus far. But, call me a mark. Call me, a total dilettante or whatever. I'm not like a draft person at all. But after these first few picks, I'm kind of feeling a little hopeful. And I'm wondering, here's my question, are we ushering in an era of hopeful Paul to combat the great white snark?
Well, they are kind of one and the same. Now, I'll never lose the snark, but I might be snarky on the side of hope now. To the people that are going to, call in and just dump on every pick. Like I talked about that mailbag question we got that reads as follows. Like, it appears the Patriots watched the parade go by at wide receiver and tackle and then reached for leftovers at those positions instead of drafting better players. They took those 2 positions at the very next picks they had. Like, they took one in the 2nd round and one in the 3rd round.
Well, they traded down a little bit.
But what were they supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I would just say,
so there's my snark.
So what I'm hearing is snark is the medium. The message can change.
Yes.
No, I do feel, and I'm not trying to just put on an act. I do feel like there should be some hope on this weekend. You have to hope more so than anything about Drake May, but you should have some hope.
I would just say to John's point, like, I don't think you're wrong to be a little bit
John.
disappointed with how free agency
off-season?
went. We all were disappointed, but I think the lesson though, and that what we were kind of trying to preach at the time is that this is how you get better. You hit on these draft picks, you retain these. This is where the real stuff is. It's not, making the big free agency splashes. Yes, it would have been nice. It would have probably added something that all of us would have been excited about. So that's fair. But this is where the reality is. This is if they're going to get out of it. It's
if you had gotten Calvin Ridley, maybe you wouldn't have had to use the 2nd round pick on a wide receiver, and you could have gotten a player. That could have, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Another player that could have played
that's
right away.
Fair.
Right.
That's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, these teams that are consistently in the mix every year, they draft well.
Well,
and then
Evan, every time Kansas City picks, Evan's
Kansas City, Philly, Baltimore. It's like
and then they bring in the pants
Not
off.
again.
I mean, look at what the 49ers did, and then they bring in McCaffrey, and they're That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this Javon
Darn
Baker is
Chiefs.
something, I guess.
Oh yeah. What's he
the mentality after having to wait till day 3. Kill whoever's on the other side of me. That's really my mentality. That's it.
Alex Barth weighs in.
NFL Insider?
NFL Insider, Alex Barth?
NFL Insider, and he just texted me, Javon Baker is a legit psycho. I love it. I'm all in. That's what he said.
Okay.
Those guys worry me.
Little flair. We'll see.
I'm not going to lie. Those guys worry me a little bit.
You got to have a little dog in you. Sure. I think both these guys have a little dog in them, both Polk and Baker.
He might be making a commercial for the ADA sometime not too in the distant future, but he's all right.
Melvin's in Tennessee. What's up, Melvin?
What's up, y'all? What's going on?
Hey.
Hey, Melvin.
Hey. I guess I'm the opposite. I'm just glad everything makes sense. This time. You never know with receivers. Obviously, hopefully, I'm praying that one of them works out. But there's also the opportunity that neither one of them will work out. Maybe both of them will work out. But if we just were to get a wide receiver 2 right now, there's so many different ways you can get wide receiver 1. Obviously, with drafting, but a wide receiver will cry every year wanting some money or whatever it is like that. So you can address that way. You can do it different ways. But we can get something like that, and everything like that works out with the offense. I think the defense was okay last year, just so bad on offense. So I'm just glad that we at least have coaching staff and something like that everything is at least making sense. We're not drafting a running back in the second round or something like that would just throw you for a loop. So I'm happy with what they picked. So I'm just it's an exciting part of the year. So hopefully everything like that will work out, and then we'll just see what happens from there. But so far, so good with me.
Yeah, and I think
All right,
that
Melvin, thank you.
Over the course even of Belichick's tenure, I feel like the drafts where everything, even if you don't agree with each individual player necessarily, or maybe you liked one guy over another, when the positions and where they were picked make sense, it seemed like those drafts for the most part were better than the ones where we get Cole Strange in the first round. You know, like when you have those drafts that are even 21, it didn't necessarily work out in the long run, but it was Mac, Barmore, Ramondre, like right where they were supposed to be drafted, and it looked at least for a couple of years like it was a pretty solid haul.
It did, and other than Mac, I mean, Ramondre was good, and Barmore is
hopefully going to get extended.
Yeah. Let's see. Mel is in Sacramento. Be blunt, Mel.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, thank you guys for the magnificent job you guys are doing on the draft. I just have a little bit of confusion in regards to why are we taking a guard?
Yeah.
When we have a need for tight end, and there are other needs that haven't been filled yet.
Totally fair.
I was expecting more aggression in terms of moving up and drafting more higher end talent. So I am somewhat optimistic, but I also feel like we have to compete with some really good teams, and I'm seeing this as more of a long-term improvement as opposed to trying to win right away.
I don't know about that last part, but I totally understand where you're coming from with the guard. When
this one position.
When Laden Robinson was taken, I have to admit I was like, oh God, here we go again. I mean, they saved me with Javon Baker a couple picks later, but it has to be. We're talking. I don't know if we were on air when we were talking about this, but the guards that they've taken over the last 2 years, they've taken 4 guards in the top 150, now 5 with Robinson. The 4 of the last 2 drafts, Cole Strange, Sidney So, Jake Andrews, Antonio Mafi. This tells me that they don't love those guys.
Or not all of them, for sure.
Yeah, and because
and that's why
you should be set depth-wise at that position, and you're not, apparently.
It's the Fred and Paul tenet of watching what this Patriots team does. Watch what they do. And I think it's easy to sit there and say, and Mel in Sacktown just said, like tight end. Well, I look at, they have tight ends on the roster, and they have guards on the roster, and they drafted a guard. What is that telling you?
Yeah, they like the tight ends better than the guards.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks.
So,
Mel.
and I also don't want to get too lost in what's happening in the 4th and 5th rounds of drafts. Yep. You're not addressing needs when you pick out, like Javon Baker. God love him. Seems like a character. We have, an infusion of, sort of swag in the locker room, evidently. But I'm not going to just sit there and say, well, 4th round pick. Plug him in day one. He's going to start, and he's going to catch 98 passes for us next year. Probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
They haven't necessarily addressed wide receiver. They've selected a couple of wide receivers. Hopefully they can play. Like tight end, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, Wilcox.
Wilcox.
Mitchell Wilcox.
And,
I don't really think that's all that different than Cole Strange.
Don't forget
Michael
Petaway.
Antonio Mafi.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter Henry is better than all of those guys at guard. But other than that, it's not different. But I do think in this draft, the tight end class wasn't particularly strong. It was Brett Bowers and then a big gap.
But a lot of people, and you guys included, and listen, I don't follow it as closely as you guys do. Like, I just didn't view tight end as this, like, who are they going to get a tight end? Who they got? Except for Claire, who I know always wants a tight end. It's just not a huge thing for me.
Yeah, and if they want to throw like a later round dart at like Tanner McClanahan from Arizona or Jakeem Bell from Florida State, those guys are still available, and I would think maybe in the 6th round they might still be there, both those guys. So, those are options of guys that I had decent, okay, this guy could be a backup, interesting kind of chess piece type player.
Yeah, that was always, for me, the tight ends. I was always looking for I just wanted like a kind of a third wide blocking guy that could just complement those two starters. But
did you see how high Tip Raymond went?
I know,
that was
believe
wild.
that one.
Anyways,
all right. Well, whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com, physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. And when you're gambling, be careful. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. Not too many. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no.
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no.
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no.
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
Patriots Unfiltered.
Hey, sun's out. That means fun's out. So get ready for warmer weather with the latest in-stock and ready-to-ship outdoor styles from Bob's Discount Furniture. Shop everything from weather-resistant wicker seating and barbecue-ready bar and dining sets to on-trend indoor-outdoor rugs, umbrellas, and decor. Stop in and shop now to embrace springtime at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. So while we were at break, we had our latest draft picks meet the media. So why don't we go to, let's go to Javon Baker. Want to do that? Let's go to him.
Just give it a couple of seconds. All right, Javon, I can see you now. Awesome. And can you hear me? I think we've got you on mute, so I'll just, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I can hear you now too. Awesome. So everyone, welcome Javon Baker. We'll start off with first question here from Doug Kyde.
Javon, congratulations and welcome to New England.
Yes, sir.
I saw one of your initial reactions on Instagram was that it took too long for you to be picked.
Yes.
So what's your mentality now after having to wait 2 days to get drafted?
It's just mentality to just kill whoever on the side of me, on the other side of me. That's really the mama mentality. That's it.
Thanks. And one other one real quick. What can you tell us and Patriots fans about your game?
Hey, just come to the home stadium and bring out popcorn. That's all I can tell y'all. Bring your popcorn. I make people in wheelchairs stand up. Bring your popcorn.
Next question here, Chris Mason.
Hey, Javon, congrats on getting drafted. What are your first impressions of Drake May and working with him moving forward?
Say it again, please.
What are your first impressions of Drake May as a quarterback and
Yeah.
working with him?
Yeah, honestly, y'all didn't. People don't know this, but when Drake May was committed to Bama at first, we was always used to practice and throw around. So me and Drake May got a connection going on. So Drake May probably really, I think, in my opinion, the best quarterback in this draft. So when we connect again, it's gonna be a good connection.
What do you remember about him from those throwing sessions?
Competitive and trying to get the ball what spots that I ask him to put it at, he'll put it there. So he'll be just a competitive quarterback, and that's what I like in the quarterback. And somebody that can push me and I'll push him.
Thank you.
Next question, Nick Coit.
Thanks, Steph. Hey, congratulations, Javon. Just wanted to ask you your impressions of just joining the New England Patriots organization, and when you think of the Patriots, what do you think of?
Honestly, just being a part of that organization, I know it's a winning mentality organization, and just like how I was at Bama, and just winning, and everybody like winning, and it wouldn't be a better opportunity and a better place to go to than this place. So I just can't wait.
Next question, Sophie Weller.
Hi, Javon. Congratulations. I was just curious, you mentioned that you had throwing sessions with Drake May. Did you reach out to him at all after he was drafted? And second, have you heard anything from him or have you reached out to him since being drafted now that you guys are on the same team?
I didn't reach out to him when he got drafted, but as soon as I got drafted, he reached out to me, and we just telling him congrats and let's get to work. And Jalen Pope, he was working out this whole offseason, this whole process. So we got a connection going on too. So just us three alone, and just gonna bring back the winning mentality that everybody like in Boston.
You talk about that connection. Do you feel like this was a very good place for you to land with the two players that you literally saying that about?
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's a perfect. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's a perfect opportunity, and I just can't wait to put on that uniform.
Next question, Mark Daniels.
Hey, Javon, congratulations. Based off your background and transferring to UCF, how much would you say there's a chip on your shoulder, and how much does the stuff that happened to you in the past, how much does that drive you?
Honestly, it's gonna always be a chip on my shoulder, no matter what. And I'm self-driven, so I know how it feels to be behind somebody. I know how it feels to be bottom of the depth chart. So I'm always have a chip on my shoulder, regardless.
And what are you hoping to prove with the Patriots?
Prove them everything. Prove them what I can do. Prove them I could do everything as a receiver. I could do anything to win. Just prove them that. Honestly, I'm a team player, and I want to prove to the team that I'm one of them guys. So that's what I want to do.
Thank you. Congrats.
Next question, Keegan Stiefel.
Congratulations, Javon. I was just wondering, you talked to Steve Smith before the draft a little bit about your game, and you said once the ball's in your hand, you can change the game. What is it about what you do that can change the game?
My mentality. I'm a receiver. I don't know nothing but receiving the ball. I don't care if the ball thrown out of bounds in the sideline. I'm going to receive the ball. So at the end of the day, that right there, my mentality is just different from any other receiver. I can get down and dirty. I can do anything. So that right there, my mentality alone can just do everything as a receiver. Just my mentality, honestly.
And next question, we'll do two more questions here. First one starting from Taylor Kyles.
Javon, congratulations, man. Welcome to New England. Before the draft, Elliot Wolf mentioned the team didn't really have a true X, that guy who could line up on the backside and win a one-on-one coverage. Seemed like that was a place you had a lot of success in college. So do you feel like you can be that guy for this offense?
Yes, sir. I could be anything. Honestly, whatever Coach Nader want me to be at, I can be. And this is just that right there. I could be X, Y, or H. It don't matter to me.
And what allowed you to thrive in those one-on-one matchups, would you say?
Honestly, my mentality. My mentality when I line up against that corner, and I know it's game over. So,
Congrats, man. Welcome to New England.
appreciate it.
Question from Doug Hyde.
Hey, Javon, I saw that you were on Cam Newton's 7-on-7 team. What was your relationship like with Cam Newton, and has he ever spoken to you about his time in New England?
Yeah, my relationship with Cam Newton is like a big brother relationship. And before the draft, we were just talking and telling me, he was just telling me just to keep my head down and keep working, you know. And I talked to him about Boston. I was just telling him because when I was there on a visit, I was talking to a lot of people about Cam, and it was just a lot of good things saying about Cam. And I was just telling them, relaying the message and stuff like that. We were just laughing about it, but that's really it.
Awesome. Thank you, and congrats again.
All right. That's the initial Javon Baker. Interesting
Experience.
Yeah,
it is. That is exactly the word. You took the words right out of my paw. It's going to be an experience.
A lot of confidence.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence. If you want a confident guy, I think you just got him.
Yeah, and I do like the confidence. I think there's a swag that goes with that position in cornerback. You know, receivers, corners, they go one-on-one a lot. But, yeah, he'll
get humbled a little
That's
bit.
an experience right there. That guy was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
I mean, I can see a guy like that being at Alabama and, like, this isn't – I want to play and getting out of there and going to a place where, you know, he can get on the field all the time. And, you know, the numbers show that once he did – you know, he produced. But, yeah, I mean, I think to be a wide receiver or a cornerback in this league, you have to have that type of confidence.
Yeah, Fred, quote here, just reading through from the Beast, you know, he struggled to see meaningful snaps in Alabama's offense, and he said, I just needed to touch the ball. So that sounds about right.
Now, that's one of those schools that is a feeder of wide receivers. So there's a lot of guys, you know, that are transfer in, transfer out, you know, of these big schools. And, you know, a guy like Jameson Williams transferred into Alabama and from Ohio State was a star at Alabama, you know. So it goes both ways that these guys just sometimes coaching staffs have favorites and it's not you and you have to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, but he definitely believes in himself. There's no doubt about it. So that was interesting. Apparently doing it from his car. Yeah, probably the quietest place right now he could find to do it.
That's where many podcasts are recorded these days. This nice and contained space for the sound.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And then we had also the guard.
Laden Robinson.
Laden Robinson. We have that queued up, Matt Morrell? Yeah, let's might as well knock these off.
The first question from Mike Reese.
Hi, Laden. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Doing great. Well, start us out, Laden, with just what has this day been like for you? What is it like when you hear your name called, you know, when they call you?
I mean, it's been great. Just having a blessing with just being here with me and my family and everybody that's been close to me my whole life. And just having that feeling of the call, it was great. And it was a blessing in disguise. And it could have been from a better place.
Laden, can you tell us where you are and who's with you today?
So I'm in Galveston, Texas at this beach house out here, and it's pretty nice. It's amazing, you know, windy, and it's fishing. Sometimes it's really good just out here with my grandfather, my uncles, my mom, my cousins, and my godmother. It's just a great surrounding of love.
Next question, Doug Hyde.
Laden, congratulations. Can you just tell us and Patriots fans a little bit about your game?
Thank you. Just about my game is, I'm a grinder. Been instilled in me for years, for a long time, especially with my coaching staff at Texas A&M. Just just be a grinder. Just go in there and be tough, be gritty, and go after people over and over again. That's how I do my play style. Growing up, I always looked up to Larry Allen. And I love the way that he played the game. Some great offensive linemen like Quentin Nelson, Chris Lidstrom, and just guys like that. You see their film and they're popping off a tape with their effort and strain and finishes. And that's how I kind of model my game.
And one other quick question. What kind of contact did you have with the Patriots before the draft, and what was that contact like?
The contact was great. I mean, I talked to everybody a lot at the Senior Bowl. Then we kind of visited at the Combine a little bit, and then they did interview me at A&M before the pro day. So it was kind of like we met a lot, and they got to know me a lot and know my football mom was at too as well. And it was just great communication of everything.
Thank you.
The next question, Sophie Weller.
Hi, Laden. Congratulations again. I was just curious, what has kind of been your impression of the Patriots before this moment, and what is it like to kind of hear your name called within that organization?
Well, the impression of the Patriots, just a championship program, just going there. And when I visited, because it was one of my 30 visits, I mean, it was a great feeling. Love the coaches. Just going around the facility and you see all the previous players and all the accolades and just tradition of the Super Bowl championships that they had in there. That's a winning program, and they, we're doing everything that we can to try to get this back on the road to becoming a Super Bowl contending team again.
And then, sorry, just one more. Obviously, Drake May was the first overall pick for the Pats this year. What do you know about him, and what's kind of your impression of now getting to play with someone like him?
Oh, Drake May, he got picked in the top 10 of the quarterbacks, so it was really good just seeing him get drafted there. I don't know much about him because in the SEC we didn't really play North Carolina. The only time we played North Carolina, I believe, was in the Orange Bowl a couple of seasons ago. So I really don't know much about him, but I can't wait to get to know much about him and just get to know him as a person and get to know him as a player and see his mindset because I play with a lot of different quarterbacks and you get a feel for different guys, and I just can't wait to get to know him and just see him on the field.
Thank you, and welcome to New England.
Thank you.
Next question, Mark Daniels.
Hey, Laden, congratulations. I see that you started at right guard at Texas A&M. Are you coming to the NFL as a right guard? What type of versatility do you have, and are you comfortable playing any other positions on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm very comfortable playing in positions. Whatever the team needs of me, that's what I'm gonna do, because you can always learn anything. I played a couple of snaps at left in camp sometimes, and I play, and also I will snap the ball after practice every day just in case, just to get those reps. So I'm always open to anything to help the team out. I'm a versatile guy, and just anything they need of me, I'm gonna do.
Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
And next question, Taylor Kyles.
Laden, congratulations. Welcome to New England, man. I was curious about your interactions with Alex Van Pelt, if you had any, and what he kind of told you about your potential fit in this offense. A lot of wide zone play action kind of stuff from what we know on the outside.
Just coming in and just, understanding everything and basically just getting after it, just like running off the ball and getting after everything. That's the main thing they talked to me about out there, because, a lot of people talked about my play style and how I like coming off the ball and how it's, just my greatest attribute. And they're right, that is my greatest attribute. I got things I need to work on, and I'm going to get them done, and I'm going to work on because I know what I have to work on. But, just excited to be there. That's just everything. I'm just excited to be there and get to work and just go crazy.
And speaking of which, what are some of those improvements for your game, if you don't mind me asking?
Just the improvements of my game, just basically the technical side of pass protection, because, I got some good reps in, but, there's a lot of reps that I could have improved on better. And I've seen that, and I broke down that film, and I know what I need to get better at. And so now, I just got to get in there and then attack all my weaknesses and then make them my strengths.
Awesome. Congratulations again, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like that's all the questions for today. So thank you so much for joining us.
All right, so that's Laden Robinson and his first encounter with the New England media.
He was welcome to New England.
Yeah, welcome to New England, because...
Congratulations, man.
I will say that was the say.
That was the polar opposite.
Just get into your question. You don't have to say anything.
It's a press conference. Ask a question.
Right.
I've done those for 25 years. I've never once done that once, and I can honestly tell you that.
I
also just curious.
I'm just trying to play the other side a little bit.
Yeah.
These are people that once next season comes around, we try to establish a rapport with. So God forbid we be human beings and say some pleasantries before we get into the question.
And that's all you're trying to do.
What?
like that.
Yeah.
It's like trying to suck up. Just ask your
Yes.
questions. It's not your job. They're not your friends. They're people you're covering. Ask your question and move on for the next person so they can ask their question.
You'll see him in the locker room at some
You'll see
point,
it.
and you can say hello
Yep.
and introduce yourself.
And that's a
yeah,
congratulation
right.
time.
Did you welcome me to New England? No, you didn't?
Right.
Get the hell out.
I remember.
Cross him off the list then.
I remember when we had that web, you said, thank you. Now you're my favorite media member.
It is. Welcome to New England is the new I'm Just Curious.
Yeah.
That was our initial press conference bugaboo.
Yeah.
Just curious. I mean, that's
When I was in journalism school, one of my professors said that if he ever heard me say "talk about," talk about your feelings on this,
Ask
or whatever,
a question.
Yeah, that he will personally call me himself and yell at me.
On Law and Order.
Talk about your performance.
On Law and Order, that would be an objection because no question was asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sustained.
Yeah.
Is there a
I just
question
want to
there?
say that.
Is there a question?
Where's Tamara? I think we need the Law and Order.
Bop, bop.
Yep. All right. So that's great. We're waiting for the Patriots' next pick, but it won't be during this show as of now because they don't have a pick until the 6th round, and we're still in the 5th round.
Yeah, we're at 146.
Yeah,
we're not even on the ticker yet.
They're all the way 180. So we're
but
34.
they do have 2 picks in the 6th round, so you never know. They could move into the bottom of the 5th if there's somebody that they're intrigued with down there. I don't think it's likely, but we'll see.
No, like I said, last year was nuts. Like day 3, where they have 9 guys. I mean, especially when you get to this point, you're kind of out of steam, and then they just were rattling off pick after pick. I know Pop Douglas gave us a little. Whew, all right, that's exciting. We didn't booty too.
Last year that draft was after Gonzo. Between Gonzo and Pop Douglas, that was a rough run for me. I was pretty disappointed, and then they saved the draft with Pop.
Yeah, I mean, and the new guard there, he seems like a good dude. I just that is the one pick I think you could probably question about.
That was the polar opposite though in terms of a press
completely.
people, very.
I'm with my whole family
very
here
focused,
in a beautiful place.
Very just very straightforward, very focused. Whereas Baker was in his car, kind of looking around. Obviously he had a lot of colorful things to say. This guy was a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
Robinson. So 2 different personalities.
Kind of, but offensive lineman and a wide receiver kind of embodies those personalities,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that he described his own playing style very accurately, which is not surprising.
Have you ever disagreed with someone with their own playing style and you're like, that's not you?
No, I mean
Explosive.
sometimes some guy, always get who did you model your game after, and I always feel like that sets up unfair expectations because they always say it's always going to be a good player. It's not I modeled my game after Kayshon Boutte. It's going to be I modeled my game after Keenan Allen.
Tell me about your self-awareness.
You, sir, are no Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the Ace Ticket Hotline, web radio. I'm 855-PATS-500, and of course, webradio@patriots.com is the email address. Jason's been holding on from Florida. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how you doing, y'all? Can you hear me?
We can. Yep.
Awesome. Hey, great coverage. Love the draft analysis, and I would say Pats Nation's pretty excited. One question for you: how do you think Mayo? How are they going to handle Drake May spring training camp? If he appears to be the clear-cut best quarterback, are they going to start him week 1? It's obviously going to be a difficult decision, probably a lot of pressure on Mayo, but like to hear your input.
Yeah, it's a good
How are they
question.
going to handle that?
Yeah, well, I'll let you hang up because your phone stinks. But anyway, no, good question.
Yeah.
If he is the clear cut, do you start him? And I think first of all, would everyone agree probably the reps will be split pretty much between him and Brissett. Zappy getting some.
I wonder if he's clear second team for a little bit just to not cause any sort of mischief. I remember Mac's rookie year, Cam was always first, but Mac would then go on a 20 rep run.
Right.
And so obviously they were giving all of the developmental opportunities to Mac, but when it looked like Cam was the starter in air quotes, and then I think Cam himself said it after he got cut. He was like, I probably should have realized I'm getting 5 reps and then this guy's getting 25 reps.
Yeah.
The order didn't really necessarily matter in that case.
My thing is, I think, follow Jacoby Brissett around, attach yourself at the hip to Jacoby Brissett. But I think that there'll be some inconsistencies from Drake May in practice, but there'll probably be some wow moments too where he just uncorks a couple balls and you see. But I'd be really surprised to see him make that push that Mac just looked kind of comfortable right from the get-go, especially in the pocket. I mean, it sounds weird to say now. I think Drake May's going to have those things, like the simple.
Well, what would you have to see to say we got to start this guy right away?
I need to see him in the pocket, comfortable, getting the ball out quick, hitting guys in stride right away. Which is kind of what I thought Mac did.
I think that's really it, is the timing. Is he, because I don't think it's going to be a talent thing. It's going to be between the ears of, is he understanding the play calls, understanding the playbook, understanding the checks and things he has to do at the line of scrimmage, throwing on time, throwing with anticipation. Those types of things. It's not going to be, this guy doesn't have a good enough arm. I can promise you
the
that.
ball comes out on time consistently. And I mean, it's a great question that the caller asked. I don't know if he's head and shoulders the best. I don't know if he'll start week 1. They might just not want to start him right away.
Yeah,
which I would be disappointed in if
you want to see him at least get a chance.
No, what I'm saying is if he is clearly the best quarterback, then he should play. But I'm not sure that will be the case.
No. Well, here's the thing, and I was going to mention it yesterday, and we ran out of time. But if he does,
how could that possibly have been?
If and when he does play, and say, okay, you're gonna start from this point on, I hope they don't make the same mistake they made with Mac, and that mistake is that leash that they had on him, and not, being afraid to allow to make him make mistakes. You have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to understand your limitations and make those mistakes so you learn. And I think
they will.
I think they were.
I think it's different
way
because I think
too
they're
careful
different
with
players.
Mac.
I agree with you. I know
Yeah.
exactly what your point is, and you're thinking back to like the first 6 or 8 weeks where it was they threw the ball all over the place, but in a very controlled way. I just think that was best for Mac. And I think that wouldn't necessarily be best for Drake May, in my opinion.
I think it's the opposite.
Right.
I'm actually a little bit concerned that they're going to try to take away the gunslinger in Drake May. And even as he matures throughout the rest of his career, he's going to have a little bit of Josh Allen in him where he's going to make some mistakes and turn the ball over a little bit. But if you harness that and you pull him in, then that's taking away his superpower.
I agree.
He's going to be one of those guys that's going to be volatile at times, and you have to just ride the wave and know that at the end you're going to put up 35, hopefully. Obviously.
Yeah. So you might be right. I think that they'll look at it different. Like Mac, I think if you had taken the leash off, then it would have unraveled a lot before, a lot sooner than it did. Would have looked like it did last year.
Well, and then maybe we'd know a little bit sooner too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I think they handled Mac right, because I think they played to his limitations.
Yeah.
Now, what they did in year 2 and year 3 is a different story. I mean, at the rookie year.
Yeah.
But if Drake May is showing an understanding of the offense right away, I want him to play as a rookie. It doesn't have to be week 1, but I want him to play meaningful games.
You know what's going to be funny, though, is that he'll have those reps where he doesn't quite know what he's doing or where to go to the ball, and he'll just tuck it and start running, and it'll look kind of impressive. And so then you'll have half the media is going to say, well, he didn't know what he was doing with the ball, and the other half is going to say, man, he looks good on the hoof. He's that kind of player.
Yeah, and that will happen in games. Like, he's an excellent runner.
Yeah.
He's an excellent driver.
Yeah, but in practice, they're going to have to tell him, you can't run. You've got to complete the play.
Yeah.
But
he is a really good runner.
Yeah.
And that's something that I haven't talked a ton about with him, because I think that there's so much to talk about with the passing, both on the good and the bad end with him, that we've taken up most of our time doing that. But over the last 2 years, I think in 2022, he might have like 16 rushing touchdowns over the last 2 years or something like that. Not only is he a good runner that he can pick up first downs on 3rd and 5, but he's also a good goal line runner if you want to use him like that you can have him be, what Cam Newton was in 2020, where he's punching it in for you as well.
Let's go to Joe in Texas. Hey, Joseph.
Hey, how y'all doing? Can y'all hear?
Yep.
Hey, Joe.
All right, I got a couple questions. I'll tie them into each other. How confident are y'all that we'll be a winning team this season on a scale from 1 to 10 with the way the offseason is going so far? Also, we had a sliver of hope with the 7-win streak with Mac a couple years ago before things went sour the season after. How much are y'all going to have to see now that we've had that experience of getting let down to actually have confidence in us being a legitimate playoff contender again?
Yeah. I don't have a lot of confidence that we'll be a winning team this year, but I do have. I'm very, very hopeful that we'll, have the indications that the team's on the rise, that there's hope for the future. But I don't think it's going to translate to, above 500 or, getting close to the playoffs this year. I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
But
you want to see these offensive line pieces come together and to say, out of all these draft picks and free agents that we've signed over the last couple of years on the offensive line, if we can get through this year and into this year and hopefully these guys, the ones that are under contract, like, hey, we feel like we've got an offensive line now. If these rookie wide receivers step in and bump some of the guys that we've been disappointed in off the roster and those guys are contributing, and it seems like, and then all of a sudden you get the thing that everybody wanted, which is that the offensive line is in place. We've got some weapons. We're ready for Drake May now to take the keys, and he has stuff to work with and the protection.
Those are all the examples of the things that we always say. We'll know it when we see it.
Yeah.
I don't have a number to quantify it. I can't put a finger on what I would say is progress. But all those things that you just said, if Baker and Polk are there instead of Jalen Reagor and Juju Smith-Schuster, that's a sign of development. If you have maybe 7 guys who start on the offensive line instead of, the 28 that did last year or whatever it was, that's a sign of development. I don't know what the record will be at the end of the year. It probably won't be all that much different, but that will be a lot more encouraging to me. I mean, this is taken obviously aside from the only thing that really matters in Drake May.
Right.
You can have some of those things happen or none of those things happen. If Drake May is C.J. Stroud, you're going to be better, both on the field, record-wise, and development-wise. But I'm assuming that you're not going to get that meteoric, rise into the league.
Like Paul said, you're going to have to see it. I mean, if
you'll see it, you'll know
if Brissett starts and the Patriots are 2-6, and then they put in Drake May, and Drake May wins 4 or 5 games down the stretch, we'll be like sky high.
Well, I would be sky high, but even if Drake May goes in and goes 2-6 as well, but Javon Baker's catching a couple of passes here and there, and Jalen Polk is doing this over there, and maybe Kalen Wallace is playing some tackle. Maybe he's the swing tackle, and he someone gets hurt and he has to play, and it doesn't fall apart. Those are things that I think would be really encouraging. Mm-hmm. Again, you could have the same record, but you know it. You kind of know it when you see it. When you're plugging in Verdarian Lowe, and he's not the answer, and Calvin Anderson, whatever was going on with him last year with that mysterious illness. And it's just one different guy after another. Connor McDermott, and who knows who's playing guard. They're alternating series with guards. Remember that? Remember that period where Strange was playing one series and then Mafi would come in the net? That's not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Groh said the worst thing is to not have any tackles, and you're scrambling at tackle, and that's what they were doing last year. I understand people calling in. I know everybody thinks I pick on the callers. I'm not picking on the callers.
You do.
But it's hard for us to sit here, I think, and say that they're 4 wins better, they're 3 wins better, they're 5 wins better. I don't even know if I could say that at the end of training camp. I don't know when we're gonna. I don't really do well with that.
Well, so much of it is so random too.
Right. It's just, to Paul's point, it's just all about how does it look? Who's playing, and is it developing, and does it finally look like they hit on a receiver with Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, and how about the offensive line? Is the defense still a really good defense? And it's not necessarily gonna result in they're gonna win 10 games next year. I don't know.
If the same exact team played the same exact schedule last year, all the same personnel, everybody that got hurt. Yeah, every guy that was available for every game. I'm not telling you they would have gone 4-13 again. They might have only won 2 games. They might have won 6. There's such a randomness to it.
Yeah.
So many of those games come down to the last. How many times does Bill tell you? Well, it came down to a couple of plays, and unfortunately they made the plays. Yeah. Now I'm not telling you they could have played the whole season over again and gone 13-4 instead of 4-13. That wasn't possible. But it was possible that they could have won 5, 6, 7 games. Yeah. Based on the way the games unfolded, and they might have only won 2 if they unfolded differently.
How many times they get shut out?
At least once. I remember the one here.
6-0 against the Chargers.
Is that the only one?
Jay in Minnesota. What's up, Jay?
Hello, guys. Hope you're having a good Saturday. I called in yesterday to catch 22, and I asked Evan and Alex about the prototype receiver that would best fit Drake May. And I was kind of shocked that so many teams passed up on A.D. Mitchell, and he fell so far I'm not upset with the Polk pick, really, but I'm kind of wondering why they would go with Baker over his teammate Tez Walker, knowing that he went 2 picks later, I think. I feel like that's a lot of development that they already have, and I'm kind of concerned why they didn't pick him, but I can also see why Paul is concerned with Baker because those outward receivers, who are talking a lot, they can either go for 1,000 yards each season or they could barely make it out of training camp. So I kind of see the concern, but I'm wondering why they don't go with Tez Walker.
Yeah,
I just think they're going to hope that they develop chemistry. I mean, it's 2 years together. I mean, how much did they play together 2 years ago?
Honestly,
really?
last year they didn't play a ton together because Tez Walker was ineligible for a while because of a transfer.
So you make it up. You go with the better player. I mean, it'll be quick before he has as much experience playing, with Drake as what Tez did.
I will be on record saying I like Baker more than Walker. Anyway, but I'm not going to lie. That guy, he was much. He was a little bit much. Really interesting. Just back to the draft. Spencer Rattler just went to the Saints.
I think that's the first quarterback.
Since
it's
like
Bo
a
Nix.
record.
Since
Record
Bo
thing.
Nix.
It shows
It's a record-long streak of well over.
Get 'em quick
probably
or you're not getting one.
130 picks or something.
I just think that back to
140 picks.
Walker and Baker quickly. They clearly, and when I asked Groh about this, he said that that's the league. Contested catches and finishing in traffic and that type of stuff is the league. And the biggest knock on Tez Walker is his hands. His tons of drops on film and really struggled to finish through contact at the Senior Bowl against NFL caliber corners. Just not. No, like they're very, very different types of players. Like Tez Walker is this developmental vertical threat. Javon Baker is a much more physical player. It's not that different than the conversations we were having about Jalen Polk and some of the other guys, Lad McConkey or Troy Franklin or somebody like that. So they're clearly going after a certain type of receiver, physical, tough, good catch radius, good hands, that type of player versus, a guy like Tez Walker who's really just a one-trick pony.
John's in L.A. What's up, John?
Hey, I just wanted to say to everybody, thank you so much for the draft coverage. So, from in the middle of last season through today, just unbelievably great. Evan's made a great difference, and so does Alex Barth, and all of your guys' work, Matisse and Paul and Deuce and everybody. Just
curtain call.
Freaking great.
We don't have to give Barth credit though. He's a different station.
Well, he's an insider, so he's got a leg up on us.
Insider.
Just kidding.
Well,
he's an
it's
insider.
been revolutionized. It's really good.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
Appreciate it.
I just wanted to
Thank
ask
you.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you. If each of you had one pick that you could just overrule and take somebody else, and I'll go for Fred first, Lad McConkey. What about everybody else?
Well, no, you know what? I would have liked to have seen them take Christian Mahogany, the BC guard, instead of.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I might say probably the big TCU tight end
Jared Wiley.
over the guard.
Yeah, I mean the guard is probably the pick that bugs me the most just because of the position.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I feel like they kind of missed the run on the tackles on day 2 a little bit. And how much would it have cost them to move up 10 picks to take Kingsley Suamatia from the Chiefs, or one of those guys that was maybe a little bit earlier? I know that that's kind of overcomplicating it because now you're trading up and you're doing other things, but I don't hate Wallace. I just think that his ceiling is kind of like swing tackle, OT3. I don't really see him as starting caliber at least on the outside. Maybe at guard he could be a starting guard, but at tackle I think that's pushing it a little bit. Where they had moved up like 10 picks or so, they might have been able to grab one of those last starting caliber trait type of guards.
Yeah, I would answer just by saying I really like pretty much all the picks so far. I just would say, just to give you one, is Adonai Mitchell instead of Jalen Polk, but I know what everybody's talking about with Mitchell. There might be red flags all over the place for him. So I think he might have been off the board.
Speaking Fresno writes in, the Javon Baker quotes are a riot. The guy might be a total maniac. Wonder if Mayo's regime will be more permissive with this sort of stuff than Bill was. There's good and bad with that.
Yeah, I mean you got to get him out there and see. I mean,
he's got to get out there and show it. I
yeah.
mean, it's all talk until you do it, and he's going to learn that real quick.
Yeah, and I mean it's and he's stepping into a place where there's just a lot of competition, and I won't say there's high level competition, but there's professional NFL receivers in this group that have played at this level. So it's no easy task to come in and take Juju Smith-Schuster's job, even though I think he probably should. And same with Tyquan Thornton. I mean, he's pouring everything he has into this season too. So I think it's gonna. What did I say, Paul? Iron sharpens. What is it? How does it go?
Iron sharpens iron.
It's iron itself. So there you go.
Correct. So here's a I know we only have like 10 or 15 minutes here, but Juju, I wonder, they've made a lot of like the amount of cap space that they've sort of maintained.
Yeah, they just eat it.
I wonder if they're just planning on, we got a couple of guys here. I wonder if they're just planning on biting the bullet and eating that cap space.
Yeah.
Because he would be the one guy, like you said, like they have a lot of NFL receivers in there that have. He would be the one I would say qualifies as that. Like, I don't think Jalen Reagor has ever been an NFL caliber. He's a first-round pick, had all kinds of pedigree, but he's never really done it as a wide receiver. This is multiple spots now. It's not like the Patriots drafted him and it hasn't worked out. He's been in Philly. He's been in Minnesota. He's been here.
Yeah.
And aside from returning a kick for a touchdown, I don't really think he's done much as an NFL player. I would say the same with Tyquan Thornton, a second-round pick, been here a couple of years, hasn't really created a niche for himself.
Yeah, but I'd say going deeper, Osborne and Bourne, and like kind of trying to push those down the depth,
without question,
trying to push them down the depth chart, trying to get on the field, not just off the roster, but down. Trying to get those reps so that we can get to that point, like we talked about.
No, you're right.
Osborne, Douglas Bourne are on this team. And now the two rookies are going to be on the team. I mean, you're not going to cut a fourth-round pick unless he's an absolute disaster. So those five guys, and are you going to keep a sixth receiver? Maybe that's where you have to keep Juju just because of the money situation is the sixth receiver. But then, that's it for Tyquan, which I'm not saying.
But did you just cut, like, that wasn't that hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of bodies. There's a lot of names. But no one.
But it's kind of obvious.
No one, I don't think that anybody's going to be really disappointed about. Now, we'll get. Because we get, people that are going to question everything.
Yeah.
We'll get, how could they let go of Booty? In year two. What people
he
will
didn't
be,
get his foot down. What are you going to do?
People will be upset about
Imagine
that.
if
Felger
his
and Maz will
career-
claim it's because he didn't get his foot in bounds.
His whole career would have been different if he just got his foot in bounds. It's like N'Keal Harry on the fumble against Kansas City,
Oh, man.
Or, Polk will have a good day. And what about Pop?
Right.
Chris writes in, why all the hate, he says. It's clear. I think that it's apparent that they are drafting around their new quarterback. These two wide receivers have great hands. They track the ball and are tough at the catch point. I think the Patriots are going to get some of we got our guys. It also sends a message to the wide receiver and O-line depth chart that you are all on notice and everyone's not going to be on the team next year. With that said, who do you think are some surprise or not so surprise cuts for those positions this year? But it's a little early for that question.
Yeah.
I like it.
For wide receiver?
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get a surprise cut.
There's no surprise.
I think Evan just gave you the depth chart, and I don't think there'll be any surprises.
I mean, if Bourne got cut, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a surprise.
I don't think Osborne, too. Like,
Bourne, Osborne, the two rookies, and probably Demario Douglas. I think those would be the only surprises.
And I think right now they're locked.
And I think they're all going to be here.
Yeah. I like it. This is a rebuild draft. Let's all wait and see them develop before we start criticizing the process. This seems different than other drafts. For this, I'm excited.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really even look at the defense for surprise cuts at this point, but, you look into the offensive line, is Cole Strange and Antonio Maffi.
I really do wonder about Cole. So Cole Strange is coming off an injury also, and there's some reports out there already that he might not be ready for training camp.
Zoe said he was ahead of schedule the other day.
Okay.
Like, what's the schedule?
Maybe
was it me?
No, it was Zoe.
It was
Zoe,
actually
not
Zoe.
you.
Maybe that.
She loves
this report about him not necessarily being ready.
I believe that more than what I heard.
Well,
on the radio.
that was from February at the
okay.
combine, and between that and the fact that he's just been injured a lot, like he's had a durability
and
issue at this point.
Like he's got like a kind of a size strength kind of problem.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe they just cut their losses and are like, well, that was a bad pick, and we're moving on.
It's so disappointing how that all went down. Like, in training camp, like the first day of pads, you're excited to see some contact, to see some real football, quote unquote, and then just like that, he's over in Dante's Inferno getting checked out, and he's taking some steps, and you're like, is he okay? He's not getting carted off, and here we are,
a
10
disaster
months
from
later.
the moment they announced his name.
Yeah.
that That's what that pick was.
Chad's in Illinois. What's up, Chad? Chad.
Well, Chad.
Okay.
It's pronounced
He wasn't
Chad.
holding on that long.
Chadley.
I gotta tell Hardy my story about Zoe.
Yeah.
He'd appreciate that
Yeah,
one.
he does.
Franklin writes in, pretty sure you guys already discussed this, but I strongly feel Thornton's time with the team is over. On the one hand, I feel bad for him because it's not his fault he got overdrafted. But on the other hand, I'm not exactly sad at saying adios to the last remnant of Bill's terrible wide receiver picks.
Fair.
Yeah.
He is doing a lot of bench pressing now.
What I don't think is fair is what I'm starting to hear a little of, like, this draft was so refreshing, so different.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of amazing when you have the third pick in every round. It's a
Right.
little more refreshing.
But the needs were so obvious.
Yeah.
And they got
Right.
3 guys at those positions.
Like Bill Belichick, right? Mr. He couldn't do anything, couldn't tie his shoes, evidently. Somehow stumbled into 6 titles. When he was on
Tom Brady.
he was on the McAfee thing. I agree.
I'm always-
No, I agree.
No, I love when Paul's on Bill's side of the street.
No, I agree. No, because I'm going to criticize Bill a little bit
Yeah.
too here. But when he was doing the McAfee thing the other night, he was kind of critical of Drake May.
Yeah.
But where did he have Drake May on his big board?
Yeah.
Do you know?
That was right up there.
5.
5.
Overall, not 5th quarterback.
Bill had a big board?
5 overall.
Well,
yes.
there was some speculation if it was like his. Big
Yeah,
board,
there was-
you know.
I don't know, but that's what it was attached to his name.
It was.
Yeah, there was some rumors or whatever you want to call it that it was actually Field Yates's board.
That might be.
But he wasn't going to put himself in front of the board if he didn't feel like it
If
was
he thought
somewhat
that Drake
accurate.
May was really like 58, he wouldn't have allowed that to go out there.
Yeah.
And he talked.
But he said good and bad about
he
every
did.
guy.
And he did.
Yep.
He did
Yeah.
good and
No,
bad.
I thought that
and
was
I
overblown.
I thought he was pretty critical of Drake May, but he was pretty critical. I thought of all of the quarterbacks. I agree with Fred.
I think the
thought
only
he
thing-
was pretty critical of all of them.
I think the only thing he did different maybe with May than he did with the others is what he compares himself to Josh Allen.
Which
as-
I don't really
as-
like. I'd like to see. Like, I'm not telling you that that's not true. I'd like to see that.
Oh, I saw it.
You saw Drake May say that I'm like
Drake,
Josh
Drake
Allen?
May said I'm like Josh
no, I
Allen.
saw Bill say it.
I never
Oh
saw
no,
it.
I saw
Yeah.
Bill say it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen where Drake May has said it.
Yeah, I've seen other people comment.
A million people.
Yeah.
I mean,
He might have-
compares himself to. That's what he said.
I don't know if he. I think saying that he compares himself to Josh Allen is strong. It's kind of like how Jalen Polk said that his favorite player to watch is Keenan Allen. Like, he's not saying that he's as good as Keenan Allen. He's saying, like, that's the guy I look up to that I hope to be someday. And I think Drake May might have said that he hopes
Well,
to,
even if he
to
said,
be Josh
if he said
Allen.
that, then I would give Bill some slack. I haven't even heard him say that.
I haven't heard that either, but that makes sense. It's how many guys came
Maybe-
out and I'd like to be like Tom Brady, like that.
If somebody asks you, what quarterback do you emulate? What quarterback do you watch that you
Right.
like the most? And he says Josh Allen. That doesn't mean that he's comparing
Right,
himself
that's
to
not
Josh
the same
Allen.
But that's a little bit different.
Brock
is
Purdy.
If somebody asks you what quarterback do you fashion yourself, as?
Right.
Or
Yeah, no, this was I think was more of like what Polk was asked about yesterday. Like, which receivers in the league do you watch
Sure.
that you try to emulate?
Oh,
Yeah,
the
well,
Eagles took Jeremiah Trotter Jr. That's nice. That's nice. Like his dad.
Jets just traded John Franklin Myers to Denver for a 6th-round pick.
Oh wow,
What?
Wow.
It's a salary dump.
Yeah.
Sounds it.
He's a pretty good player.
All right. Well, listen. That's going to be it.
Oh, no.
For our draft coverage,
It's a little bittersweet.
at least on this show, but the draft
Just end it with
coverage
a
on
wet
Patriots.com and all our social media channels continues. All today and, throughout next week, we'll have all kinds of stuff about the draft picks that the Patriots took. And then
UDFA's tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
Probably be a fair
and
amount
so
of those.
you'll be, signing the guys off the street after this, the guys that didn't get drafted, and who knows who you get there. So I appreciate everybody watching and listening over the weekend. Matt Morrell, thank you for the help. Everybody else in the control room, thank you. So we're going to say goodbye, but stick to Patriots.com and the Patriots social accounts for the rest of the day to see who else the Patriots choose. We will talk to you on Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.